Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we stand here on this ANZAC morning, let us honour them. We will never forget them.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 2018 ANZAC Day Dawn Service. Firstly, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land in which we gather, the Awabakal and Worimi peoples. I acknowledge their living culture and affirm my respect for their elders, past and present, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who have served our great nation. The band and the choir will now perform the royal hymn, God Save the Queen. The Lord Mayor of Newcastle, Councillor Newtali Nelms, will now welcome you to this service.
I am very proud to welcome you here today to acknowledge the debt we all owe those brave men and women who have served their country in all wars, peacekeeping and peacemaking actions. At the end of this service, as the sun rises once again on this place, take a moment to look around you. Almost all who are here this morning have a direct or at times indirect relationship with someone who has paid that price on our behalf. In 1918, the war was in Europe. It was a bloody affair with no end in sight. Casualties in the millions, including innocent civilians. Here in Australia, the enormity of the cost was hitting home, with many small towns and villages losing most of their able-bodied men. Thousands of women were widowed and tens of thousands of children grew up never knowing their father. World War I changed the face of Australia in a way we could never have imagined. We should never take for granted our freedoms, our democratic system of government at all levels, our rights and our liberties. At times, in order to maintain all that we hold as our rights, we've had to defend those rights. Some of our brothers and sisters have made the ultimate sacrifice. Today, we remember them. We have with us this morning the men and the women of the Australian Defence Forces, all volunteers carrying the spirit of ANZAC that was born on the sandy hills and gullies of Gallipoli, that grew strong in the mud and blood of France and Flanders, and in the deserts of the Middle East. We re-emerged a few short years later, again in Europe, and again on the jungle hill clads of Papua New Guinea. My earliest memories of ANZAC Day are of my pop, Ted Tillman, who served in Laos and Papua New Guinea during World War II. He would always march in the parade along Hunter Street and play two-up afterwards at the Duke of Wellington Hotel in New Lambton. He didn't talk much about the war. My husband's great-grandfather, Reginald Arthur Nelms, served in World War I. He is one of the many that lost their lives at Gallipoli. He was in the 18th Battalion and just 35 years old when he died on Hill 60 at Solva Bay. Like so many Newcastle families, ours was profoundly affected by World War I, and service to Australia has deep meaning to us. We should all give thanks to those who've been prepared to defend this land on our behalf. If you pass somebody in uniform today or any other day, take a moment to say thank you. Those two words will mean more than you could ever imagine. 2018 represents the last year of the centenary of ANZAC, and on November 11 this year, we will celebrate the day the guns fell silent. Please join us on Civic Park on that day for our Remembrance Day service. The spirit of ANZAC never dies. After World War II, it has been Korea, Malaysia, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and so many other places on land, sea, and in the air. None of us can touch it, smell it, or see it, but all of us can feel it. The ANZAC flame that was lit this morning is an embodiment of that spirit in so many ways. This morning, at services and marches, we pay our respects to all that have served in various arms of the Australian Defence Forces. And we should be grateful that we, as a country, have never had to fight a full-scale war on Australian soil. ANZAC is the one day a year, but the legacy of ANZAC lives with us every day, always, lest we forget.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The Dean of Christchurch Cathedral, Newcastle, the Very Reverend Catherine Bowyer, will now offer a blessing and a prayer.
God of love and liberty, we bring our thanks today for the peace and security we enjoy. We remember those who in time of war faithfully served their country. We pray for their families and for ourselves whose freedom was won at such a cost. Make us a people zealous for peace and hasten the day when nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore. This we pray in the name of the one who gave his life for the sake of the world, Jesus Christ, our Redeemer. Amen.
Thank you, Dean Catherine. The band and the choir will now perform the hymn, Abide With Me. ask the President of Newcastle Legacy, Mr Gary Gent, to pass the ANZAC flame to Anna Davies from St Philip's Christian College, using the words of the famous poem In Flanders Fields. The flame will be accepted on behalf of the youth of Newcastle by Anna, who will respond with the poem We Will Keep the Faith.
In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the courses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amidst the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Love and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, those poppies grow in Flanders Field.
Oh, you who sleep in Flanders Fields, sleep sweet to rise anew. We caught the torch you threw, and holding high, we keep the faith with all who died. We cherish too the poppy red that grows on fields where valour led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies, but lends a lustre to the red of the flower that blooms above the dead in Flanders Fields. And now the torch and poppy red we wear in honour of our dead. Fear not that ye have died for naught, we'll teach the lesson that ye wrought in Flanders Fields.
Thank you, Gary and Anna. As you drive along the narrow, winding road down to the Gallipoli Peninsula, one of the first memorials you used to see was a large upright square of masonry on which was inscribed a poem. Under the orders of the current Turkish government, the wording has been erased. The poet was a young military commander in charge of one of the Turkish army units defending what we now call ANZAC Cove and the heights above the cove. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Mustafa Kemal, later to become the first president of Turkey, and in 1934 given the name Ataturk. The poem is a homage to those who fell at Gallipoli and a heartfelt message to those who lost their sons. For the Turkish community, the entire Gallipoli Peninsula is hallowed ground, a national war grave, shared by all, respected by all. Mr Ismail Haskara, representing the Turkish community in Australia, will now read the Ataturk poem.
Those heroes that shed their blood and lost their lives, you are now lying in the soil of a friendly country. Therefore, rest in peace. There is no difference between the Johnnies and the Mehmets to us, where they lie side by side here in this country of ours. You, the mothers who sent their sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears. Your sons are now lying in our bosom and are in peace. After having lost their lives on this land, they have become our sons as well.
Thank you, Ismail. The band and the choir will now perform the hymn, The Recessional. I now call on Percy McIntyre from the St Philip's Christian College to give the ANZAC dedication.
At this hour, upon this day, ANZAC received its baptism of fire and became one of the world immortal names in history. We, who are gathered here, think of the comrades who went out with us to the battlefields of the Great War, but did not return. We feel them still near us in spirit. We wish to be worthy of their great sacrifice. Let us, therefore, once more dedicate ourselves to the service of the ideals for which they died. As the dawn is even now about to pierce the night, so let their memory inspire us to work for the coming of new light in the dark places of the world. We will remember them.
Thank you, Percy. The Pipers, Mr Stephen Tripp and Warrant Officer Second Class Paul Scott, play the lament while tributes are laid. On behalf of the citizens of Newcastle, the Lord Mayor, Newcastle Nelms, accompanied by her husband, Mr Stuart Nelms. On behalf of Newcastle City Council and staff, CEO Mr Jeremy Bath. Representing the Chief of the Royal Australian Navy, Commander Mark Sirowa. Representing the Australian Army, Major Peter Green, OAM, Officer Commanding 16 Transport Squadron. Representing the Royal Australian Air Force, Group Captain Nathan Christie, Chief of Staff, Surveillance and Response Group, accompanied by Warrant Officer Ken Robertson. The Senior Indigenous Military Advisor, Defence Directorate of Indigenous Affairs, Warrant Officer First Class Cole Wattigo, OAM. Federal Member for Newcastle, Ms Sharon Claydon, MP. State Member for Newcastle, Mr Tim Crackenthorpe, MP.